Yes. Okay, good. Okay, so we already have four people who might know this answer. So the first question, instead of me telling you, I am going to ask our returning members to be brave. Who knows what are the best two parts of the scale program? And I gave you a hint. It is not that it's in 2 years. I know most of you on this call are here because it is a 2-year program, but I have exciting news for you. That's the least cool thing about scale. And there's so many better things than even that.
Is it the externships?
Ooh, yes, I'll take that. Hands-on learning opportunities, which the externship, you have a guaranteed externship in scale. Every single scale student does a full-time externship in their last quarter, which is really nice. But Jamila, you want to tell us a little bit more about the hands-on experiences that you know
Yeah, I was
about?
going to say that. I was going to say the lab, the hands-on lab that Scale has that lets you work on the things that you learn in class in an actual courtroom sort of setting with lawyers who are judges to try to, hone your skills and get them ready for real practice.
You are amazing. You could just take my job. And she had no I didn't know she was going to be here and she had no idea I was calling on her. So you are incredible. But yes, so one of the best parts about scale is you don't just learn in the classroom. You have these great opportunities to get out and practice what you're learning right from the beginning in year one, which is really unique. I personally don't know any other law school programs that do that. And so this is an example of our evidence labs this year on this screen. The students take evidence during so one or two classes during the year they'll take during this week they'll be in class and they'll be learning the evidence rules, but then on that third evidence session they're actually going into court and they have to take the rules that they just learned and they have to argue them, and they have in a picture coming up somewhere, I think I have my brother was a judge this year. He's one of the top public defenders in San Bernardino County. And so we have attorneys coming in who actually give you real practical advice from their everyday practice on how you're using the skills. And there's other things too. So there's civil lit class has night court, and you draft documents together in civil lit. And jurisdiction, you have night court. In laws, you have either negotiation or appellate advocacy. There's a lot of hands-on learning in scale rather than just sitting in the classroom. Okay, so that's the first thing. Anybody know the other thing? More challenging because I don't have a picture of it yet, but it's coming. Any ideas? Jamila, do you know what my other thing might be?
Ooh.
Just guess. I'll probably think it's a good thing. What's the reason you want to come to scale other than the hands-on learning opportunities?
Other than the hands-on learning opportunities, other than the 2-year program, basically, I just want to learn from you. That's
Oh, you're so cute.
the
Okay,
legal writing course, which I'm pretty excited about. That's a reason. Um,
you're
I,
cute. That's awesome. Okay, what about our ambassadors? What do you like about it best other than the hands-on opportunities?
I can
Albert?
go. Um, I really like the part where you become so close with your classmates that you actually gain real life friends. I don't know if that was on the list or not, but that's what happened
You're
to
the
me,
best, Albert.
and I love that.
That is exactly it. That's my second favorite part. It's a really small class size. So there's 50 to 60 students in each cohort. And so what happens is you get to know each other really well. And it is a very tight-knit community. And there's a lot of advantages from having that small class size. Most law schools, for mine was over 100 per section. There was 400 total in my law school, and there was 100 in every class that I took. This year in our traditional program, which is amazing and I love it, but it's different. It is over 100 in each section. So having 50 to 60 is like half that size, and it changes a lot about your learning experience. And so you have to really like to have a tight-knit community if you want to do scale, because it is tight-knit. And one of the really things I love about it is because it is such a tight-knit community, you really let your guard down, and that imposter syndrome that you come in with fades fast. So I know most students come in wondering, do I belong here? Am I fit for law school? Can I do scale? Is this for me? You're nervous. There's some who aren't, and that's good too. But I've talked to enough students that I know that is a very, very common feeling. And when you get there and you feel it, just know you're not alone and that everyone is feeling that because pretty much every student tells me that's how they're feeling. And what happens is it goes away really fast because all of a sudden you know everyone around you. It feels like it's your family, like at Thanksgiving or at Christmas or in any holiday that you're having, whether it's Hanukkah or whatever it is, and you are comfortable. And when you're comfortable, you not worried if someone's going to judge you if you have a wrong answer, and you're much more willing to speak up. So if you're on the shyer side, you may think like, hey, small isn't good for me because I like to disappear and kind of be hidden. But actually, it's actually a really good place for you because you're going to feel comfortable and less scared. And when you start talking and you start contributing, your learning is so much deeper than if you're nervous the whole time. Oh my God, I'm going to get called on. I'm going to get called on. You're not listening to what the professor's saying. You're not listening to what your classmates are saying because you're so scared that you're about to get called on. When you feel comfortable, you're actually hearing and contributing. You're actually getting a lot from it. So the reason I like it is not just these fun pictures, which I absolutely love. And I wanted to get as many in on here as I could because this is a deep dive into scale. And I want you to see what scale is truly like, not our beautiful pictures from the outside that we show you on our website, but the real life scale. This is it. This is what you have to look forward to in scale is this. And this, yes, it's much more than just in the classroom. Our students hang out outside of the classroom. We do lots of fun things together. We go to the beach together. Last year we went mini golfing together. We do karaoke together. And it is a family in every way. Okay, so here's my scale family. And yes, these are mine. These are not posed pictures. This is Zach and Alfred just losing it. And I absolutely love that. Darian, they have no idea I'm using these pictures of them at this event, but yes, Darian is awesome. And this is the type of family that you would be joining. And so it is much more important to me than it is in 2 years. 2 years is cool. That is really cool that you get out in 2 years. You start making money faster. But if you're choosing scale, it really should be because you really like to learn in a small learning environment with a lot of hands-on learning, because that's what it's going to be like in this program. Okay, so that's kind of the overview that if you've already been to any session with me, I will definitely have talked about that because I'm very passionate about it. Oh yeah, I didn't do this one yet. Not just outside, but in. Like, so before I move on to the deeper dive, the culture is very much supportive, not just outside, but in the classroom, sharing notes all the time. I've had students tell me I missed class, I was sick, and people were reaching out. Here's my notes. Do you need my notes? It's not a cutthroat environment like you might think because it's an accelerated program and it's done in 2 years. It's very supportive and people really try to help each other and build each other up. Okay. All right. So my deeper dive, this is what I promised when I advertised this session, is our curriculum, to look at it a little bit closer. I've shown this in the last session, but I went over it really briefly. So you're welcome to ask questions. You can ask questions now. If you have a question, go ahead and you can raise your hand. You can ask questions at the end. But if you have a question about this, it's a quarter system. So what that means is you have about 10 to 12 weeks per quarter, depending. First year, it's about 11 weeks per quarter. And the second year, it's about 10 weeks per quarter. So it varies. And you're taking 3 or 4 classes instead of taking 6 classes. So you go faster through these classes. It feels fast paced because you're going really quickly through the classes, but you only have a few to handle instead of having more classes that go slower, but you're handling a whole bunch of classes. That's something that you really want to think about. If you're one that likes to learn it, you can handle a lot more, but at a slower pace. A traditional type of law school with a semester system might be a better fit. If you're good with, hey, I don't mind going through faster pace and I prefer to have less. I have less finals at the end. Instead of having 6 finals, I have 4 finals. Instead of having to memorize information all the way from August to December, I only have 10 weeks to hold that information and memorize it. So there are a lot of benefits to it. But then the other side is it's going to feel fast and you have to be ready for that. You'll learn one thing day one, and before you've even let it sink in, you're learning something on top of that. So that is an important thing for you to understand about the scale program. It is fast. And you can talk to our students later about how that feels and what they do to manage the pace of scale. But so quarter one, it starts in June. You'd be taking contracts, torts, and legal writing. Laws is legal analysis, writing, and skills. That's the course that I teach. That was Jamila mentioned is you would have me as a professor your first quarter, and then foundations. Foundations is a academic support class to help you be successful. Every student takes it in traditional and in scale and in online. We have study skills for you. How do I read a case? How do I time manage? How do I outline? How do I take an exam? You get those support systems in place right from the beginning. We also have, in terms of support, I'll let Kim talk about this later, so I won't go into too much depth, but TAs and deans, fellows, and lots of ways to support you as you're adjusting to law school. But that's really, Kim does a really good job, so I'm going to hold off on that. And then quarter two, you have civil litigation, contracts, two, criminal law and legal profession. That's your ethics class. Quarter three, you have evidence. That's the one where I was showing you pictures where you start to do your labs. You have legal writing two, and that's where you're doing your skill sets of negotiation or appellate advocacy. You have property and you have remedies. And then in quarter four, you take criminal procedure. You get to choose an elective your first year. You can pick one of our offered electives for that purpose, which right this year are negotiation, a civil class called pre-discovery. I forget the exact name of it. Just Kim, what's the name of that class? Discovery, civil discovery,
California Civil Discovery.
California civil discovery, or copyright. So one of the big benefits of coming to Southwestern is we offer copyright the first year. That is rare. I haven't looked it up, so I can't say we're the only one to do it. Don't know of another school that does that. The reason we offer every student copyright is because it gives you a leg up for entertainment externships. Most entertainment externships, you have to have copyright. And so because you have that option in your first year, you can go out and work for entertainment placements right away. You don't have to wait. So it's a huge advantage. So those who are interested in entertainment, you'd probably be choosing the copyright elective. Then you have evidence two, which is more labs. And then you have jurisdiction, which is your night courts and other hands-on activities. So what happens is because you're done with this curriculum and you've been doing hands-on work the entire time, when you do go out into your summer, which is coming up, your summer session, you are ready. I don't know if I shared this on the last time, but this past year we had a student who's second year at a trial. She had, when you take evidence and you've gone into the courtroom, you will find very quickly you're at a different level than a lot of law students who are at their first externship. And you're going to get a lot of, how do you know how to do that? Like, where did you learn that? Because you can't learn these things in class, right? And so going out there, you're so beyond their expectations that you usually get a lot of good opportunities. And because you've had evidence, you can become a certified law student and actually go and do hearings yourself. She's second year at a trial. She did the cross direct. She did the closing. That's rare for an attorney, period, let alone a first year law student. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy that she had that opportunity. And it's a lot to do with the experience that she had in Scale. So I love our Scale 1 curriculum. Scale 2, you have a summer. Every Scale student takes something called lawyering practicum. This year, we put you in, you get to pick, do you want to learn entertainment? This year, there's four choices: entertainment, civil litigation, corporate business, or criminal law. And you pick which concentration you want, like which focus you want. And we put you through the experience of what it's like to be a first year attorney. And you're working with a partner in a law firm who's going to show you exactly what it's like. This year, we've incorporated AI, and you're going to be learning a big part of the course is learning how AI can help you in practice. So kind of cutting edge, innovative approach where you're going to be ready for even that aspect because that's here and it's coming when you're a lawyer. And then you can either do an externship, you can take classes, you could do an externship and classes, or you could study abroad. We have a London program. And a lot of our Scale students last year went to study abroad and had a great time. If you're looking for kind of a more fun summer where you're still taking classes, you have to get at least 6 units, you're still getting units, that would be a good choice because you get to travel and it's not quite as intense as what you've experienced in your first year. You come back from the summer, you have some mandatory classes that are on the bar exam, con law, business associations, community property, Wills and Trusts in quarter seven. Those are all bar classes. We make sure all of our students take those classes so they're ready for the bar. And then you start to get to fill it in with electives. So this is where things get a lot more fun. If you are interested in entertainment, you get to take classes that are on. Um, we have entertainment law. Kim, give me some of the classes, which is our scripted TV, influencer law, or students. Give me some that you might have taken. I don't know if we have entertainment people. Zara, you might have. Zara, did you take entertainment classes?
Focused on intellectual property, but I'm in an entertainment drafting elective now. So I've taken trademark, IP licensing, and drafting entertainment contracts.
Yeah. Okay, good. And what about you, Albert? What kind of electives do you take?
I'm in the right now I'm in the civil pretrial practice, which is probably one of the most like practical classes because it actually teaches you like what to do as you're practicing right before the trial, like literally like every single step that a lawyer needs to take. So super fun. I took patent law, which is also intellectual property. I took trial advocacy, which was another great experience for like gaining trial level experience and education. You actually go out there and perform. And what was fun about that was like it was credit, no credit. So like no pressure at all. You just have to like perform and get better at it. So that was fun.
Yay. And what about you, Rebecca? What kind of electives are you taking?
Last semester, well, my scale elective was negotiation, which was all practical. You're basically like sparring against your classmates. So it's a really great practice. And then last semester I took environmental law, wrongful convictions, and right now I'm in the civil pretrial class with Albert. And next week we're going to have mock mediations, which is very fun. And I'm also in trial advocacy.
Awesome. Yeah, and in our California Civil Discovery, the elective we just added this year for Scale 1s, they actually conduct their own deposition. It's awesome. So just a lot of practical stuff. Thank you guys for sharing. Abigail's not quite to electives yet. She's still in Scale 1 curriculum, so I'm not going to call on you, Abigail. Okay. So you'll fill in electives. You can take a lot of electives, and then the exciting part is quarter eight, you have a mandatory guaranteed full-time externship. So you work with their externship office and you do have to apply to externships. You have to put your resume out. They send it out for you to help the connection process. You have to interview and you have to get an externship. It is not guaranteed that you get the exact externship you wanted, but a lot of our students do end up getting the area that they were looking for. So all the students I know that wanted entertainment this year so far have it. So people tend to get the area of law they're looking for, and it is guaranteed that you will be working full time as an extern. So that's a very unique, rare part of the Scale program. And a lot of reasons that people like to come is you don't have to stress or worry, am I going to get any kind of job? It's not a job, but an externship, you will get one. It happens every year. Okay. And then I will move on if I don't have questions. If you have questions, go for it. But
Do you
then
get paid for the extern?
I didn't hear it. Say it again.
Is there payment for the externship?
You can. So you have to secure one that has payment. So some people can find some that have payment. You're allowed to get paid, but it's not, that part is not guaranteed.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So this is what I just thought I would share our tentative. Notice tentative, and then I don't think I could have put enough disclosure. The schedule is tentative. It's subject to change. Tentative, tentative, tentative. It is, I won't say it's subject to change. It is likely to change because that's just how Scale operates. I have not checked it with the professors yet. I have to make sure that this works with their schedule. But I wanted to at least give you a feel for it's going to look something like this. It's not going to be drastically different. And so I think a lot of people imagine themselves maybe all day, every day. It's in 2 years. I'm overloading so many classes at a time. And that's just not true in Scale. You actually have a pretty similar schedule than you would as a traditional student. Some quarters it's better. The difference is we start earlier. So you're starting in June. You have to take classes over the summer. You don't have a spring break your first year. You do have a winter break and you do have a Thanksgiving break, but you don't have the spring break. And we do the quarter system. And by doing all of this, we are able to get, and we're very strategic and structured. And we've been doing this for 50 years. So we are able to get you everything you would get in 3 years in a traditional program into two without overloading you. So it's just a way that we have constructed the program and structured it that you take about the same, your scale one, you're in class about the same number of hours as you would be if you were a traditional student. And that means you have about the same amount of homework. There is an ABA rule. All ABA law schools have to give 2 hours of homework for every hour you're in class. So if you're in class the same amount of time, you have approximately, I can't, every professor is slightly different. So, and professors teach scale and traditional. There's not really only scale professors and only traditional professors. Professors tend to teach both. So it's not like they do something different for scale than traditional. You will get about 2 hours of homework per class session. So that means you have about the same amount of free time per week. That's why you can do everything. When I say if you're a scale student, you can participate in honors programs, you can participate in clinics, you can participate in externships, you can join clubs. The reason you can do all the BTAs, be research assistants, is because you're not in class so much more than a traditional student would be. So I'm actually going to move. This is kind of small. And so for those who can't see it, I'm going to show you a bigger picture. You're welcome to take a screenshot. I am not going to send this out because it's not final, and I don't like to send out schedules that are not final. But if you would like to take a screenshot of a tentative type of look, I can't stop you from doing that. I wouldn't even know if you took a screenshot, but I will not send it out because it's not final. I only try to send out as close to final as possible. But just so you get a feel, so you have something called Bison Bootcamp that is optional for students. You can it's basically an introduction to law school. It's not required, but it's highly recommended. So you could plan on that. That's June 2nd through 5th, I think. I don't know if that's even final yet. And then we have our orientation. That is final. This is the right date, right, Kim? The 15th? Yes. Okay. And then this introduction to lawyering is just your first week. You get a little intro class, but typically you're taking your laws class. You have research as part of laws, but research, here's your foundations class. You have torts, contracts, and you could see it's a little heavier at the beginning. It gets lighter, but this is the heavier part of the schedule. Week one is heavy because we have no classes here. And then when we have a holiday, we kind of have to squeeze the classes in a little bit more. So it tends to be a little heavier at the beginning. Laws is a little front loaded. But you'll see you have like 2 to 3 classes a day. This one, what I've done this year is I put my class partially on Fridays on Zoom so that this is my plan, again, tentative, but this is my plan so that we have commuters. You don't have to commute in. There's definitely leans that work better on Zoom than in person. So we meet so much in person. We have 2 in person. Doing one on Zoom is a different way to kind of mix things up a bit, and it helps not having to commute in, get all dressed and everything. It's kind of nice so that you don't have as many days to commute in. So I tried to put some of my hours on Fridays on Zoom so that you could get out a little bit earlier on other days. So I'm just trying to give you a picture of what it looks like. You start to get in like as it goes on by the end of June, you're out by 12:45. This one's 2 days a week. You're getting out at 3:30. Those 2, you're out by 12:45. That's pretty typical through this month where you're out, okay, till noon, till 12:45 to 12, but 2 days you're going till 3:30. So some days, 2 days a week, some days 1. I put you heavy on Thursdays because you don't have a lot on Friday to do. And so it's kind of a good day to be heavier. I'm very thoughtful in how I do the schedule to try to make it balancing for you because I want you to be able to stay balanced mentally, not get overwhelmed. And so as we get to the end of July, you'll see pretty much every day, the 3 days a week goes away. You have no Fridays, 1 class Wednesdays, and you're out at 12:45 the other 3 days. So the last, right as you're gearing up towards Fridays, the last month to a little over a month, it actually gets pretty light. If you look at it, just 2 classes a day. So I'm trying to show you this because I promised a deeper look into scale, and I want to offer something to those 4 who may not have seen this yet and give you a better feel for it's not scary. Honestly, it doesn't, to me, doesn't seem scary. It's doable. And you could talk to our students about how doable it is in a minute. But it's hard. It's hard because it's new and it's different. And everything you think you know, you don't. And so even if you took pre-law classes, you don't know. A law school is so different from pre-law and undergrad. And you can't come into law school, scale or otherwise, thinking, I got this, I know what this is like. Unless you've been to law school already, you don't know. And if you've already been to law school and you're going again, something bad happened. So you still probably know it's harder than you thought, right? So it's every word is different. You're like, what does that mean? And what does this mean? And it's not, oh, I'm learning writing, which I've done my whole life, and I'm learning I don't know, history, which I've heard before, but just this is more depth. This is everything is new. You've never heard of torts before, and you have a million rules to learn. You never heard of contracts and what that means, and everything is new. We call it legal writing. It's not. I'll call it legal form filling. I don't know. Just don't call it writing. It's not writing. It's very structured and it's very different from any writing experience you've ever had. So even if you're a great writer, it's new and it's different and you have to get used to it. That's why it looks like, oh gosh, I'm going from 9 to 1. I got this. Yeah, then you're studying all night, just so we're clear. So it's not easy, but it's definitely manageable. Okay, so that's kind of what the schedule looks like. We have, I didn't put quarter 2 on here. The thing about scale is you go straight. Like you'll see you have, okay, your laws exam, you have the weekend, then your torts exam, you have 2 study days, then your contracts exam. This is new. This is my thing. You didn't even have this before I came. I give you 1 rest and relaxation day, 1. So it is the best I can do for you and still get you out of here in 2 years. So you get your rest and relaxation day. You're lucky you got Monday as Labor Day. That's rare. And you have your weekend. So you actually get 4 full days between quarters. That's not going to happen regularly. Normally you might get 3. I try to put in a rest and relaxation so you get at least 3 days from taking your finals till starting a brand new quarter. That's your hard part of scale. You're tired and you're exhausted. You just studied hard for finals. Your brain is telling you finals means break, and your brain has to be rewired to mean finals means I'm about to learn all new materials with all new professors. But that's the fun part. You're only in one professor's class for so many weeks, and you get a new class and a new professor, and it moves fast, and it's exciting, and it's fun. Okay, so that's what the schedule looks like. And I'm going to now turn this over to Kim to do a fun exercise with you.
Okay, so this exercise is what we're calling a personality test. It is more of like compatible in terms of what we've seen students that are successful or do well in scale, or some that might have a little bit of trouble adjusting in the beginning. Because we are so different, because we are a cohort model. So it is just to see where you would kind of fit. It is not scientifically proven. This is not a Myers-Briggs. It is more of a fun exercise, very like a light guide of where you would kind of fit within the program. So please feel free to go ahead and fill it out. So there are 2 columns. The second column is checkboxes, and then we'll save the first column to type in when we are decoding your answers.
If you're done already, count up how many A's you have and how many B's you have. Okay, so if you finished it, count up your A's and your B's. Okay, so let's just hear, just for fun. Rebecca, how many are you? You don't have to give numbers, but are you mostly A's, mostly B's, mixed?
I actually only had 1 B.
Okay, and how many A's?
A's, I had around 10.
Around 10. Okay, and what about you, Abigail?
I was mostly A's.
Okay, and Albert?
Mostly A's, a few B's. So
Okay.
more than 10 A's and then like just a few B's.
Okay, good. I had something similar to that too, Albert. And then Zara,
I had 15 A's and 4 B's.
15 A's and 4 B's. Okay, good. Did I hit all my students? Yes. Okay. So here's where you're at. This is what we came up with. If you have mostly A responses, you show exceptional alignment with scale structure, pace, and learning environment. You will likely find scale both challenging and deeply rewarding. You will likely also benefit significantly from the program's hands-on approach, close faculty engagement, frequent feedback, and collaborative culture. Your personality is an excellent fit for scale. Okay. If you got a mixture, your responses align, we're still good. A balanced mix. If you have everybody's going to probably have some A's and B's, both. But if you're like heavily on the A side compared to the B, you're on the first category. If you're like mixed, like equal A's and B's, we think you're going to like scale. There may be some things you got to adjust to, but overall, you're probably really going to do really well in scale. You align with what it's about. If you show a balance of A and B, you typically will enjoy the fast-paced, hands-on small group environment and find the structure motivating for you. You're likely to benefit from the close faculty interaction, feedback, and collaborative work. It's a strong fit. If you found you have mostly B's, we we just want you to think about it because we want you to be happy, actually. Like, we want you to enjoy that. The scale is not the right fit for every single person. There's a lot of teamwork. There's a lot of, it's fast paced. It's small, all of the hands-on. Like, if you're not really liking these things, it's not that you can't do scale, but you might have to adjust a lot when you
Hey,
start. So
just
we
real
said,
fast, how much of Scale is based on Zoom, the program itself? Because it is absolutely infuriating. Everything else, I'm a perfect fit. So I'm kind of, it's just like, it
yeah, what I
doesn't,
could tell you, Robert, is that professors are allowed to put up to one-third of their class on Zoom. So it'll be class to class, professor to professor. Do they feel like putting Zoom? Do they not feel like putting Zoom? But for your first year, no class will be more than a third on Zoom. Most aren't in scale, I would say, like from our professors, but I wouldn't want to make any guarantee to you because every professor is permitted to do that. Okay. And so if you had B responses, your answer suggests you may be drawn to a more traditional learning structure, and that's completely okay. Scale is small, fast-paced, highly collaborative feedback. Students with mostly Bs are more likely to succeed in scale if they're open to adapting their mindset and habits and are willing to engage with our structure. If you're still considering, even though you got mostly Bs, great. We're happy to talk to you about it more in detail. You can make an appointment with Kim at any point and talk in detail about that. But you might feel a little mismatched if you're B, but you never know. I told my students, I'm like, I have no idea what they were going to come up with. I didn't even tell them what the answers were. Be honest what it was. If they had a lot of B's, I was good with that. Like, this is not scientific. This is not proven, but we're just trying to help guide you a little bit. Okay. So that's our little test. I would like to take a chance to let you talk to the students, and get their perspective. So as we've already introduced them, we have three scale ambassadors, and one scale one student. So I'm going to start with our ambassadors. And ambassadors is a position for 2L, scale twos, who have really done well in scale in all aspects, not just academically, but really embrace the program and the hands-on and the community and the professionalism that it takes. And they're just really strong representatives of our program, and they're amazing people. So I'm going to start with Rebecca. If you want to just talk a little bit about yourself.
Hi everyone, it's so nice to meet you all. My name is Rebecca. I am a Scale 2, so I'm set to graduate this May. Um, I really fell in love with Scale. I worked as a paralegal before, so I already knew I loved the law and I loved litigation. So I was like, Scale's the way to go. I can come back to litigating and I want to be a trial attorney. So I thought it'd be a really great fit for me to just get right back into work. And during scale, the first year was really tough. I had a really hard time adjusting. My like first period, grades weren't what I wanted. So I reached out to Professor Knolton and my other professors, and it completely changed my experience. And now I'm thriving. And this summer, I externed at a civil rights firm. So I focus on incarceration deaths and sexual abuse cases in jails and schools. Um, that's my passion that I want to do after graduation. I want to focus on prison litigation, incarceration deaths, and so it was a perfect fit. And this spring, I will be externing with a federal judge here in downtown Los Angeles, which will help with my research. And he focuses on a lot of prison litigation cases as well. So this spring, he's also set to have a trial for a jail death, which I'm really excited to witness. So Scale has really like it hasn't held me back the time constraints I've had, and it's so unique when I go out and I tell people I'm doing a 2-year program and I've already done evidence and I've like ready to get right into it. And we have so we really stand out. And then on top of all the classwork and my externships, um I am a teaching assistant for contracts 1 and 2, and I also am a teaching assistant for for this class is civil litigation and jurisdiction, and that's a great opportunity too. I feel very bonded with the new class. Like it's everything that I took from my scale ones that The TAs that I had and my peer mentor, I'm still friends with and I still see all the time, even though they're attorneys and they're great mentors and networks. So Scale is like a very, very bonded community. I'm still friends with everyone who graduated, and when I graduate, I'm pretty sure all the Scale ones that I've grown close to, like we're still going to continue to be friends. And everything that I got from my Scale twos, I love giving to the new class. I feel like they're my kids. And then so that's like my experience. I'm also a peer mentor. So I have 7 designated kids and then all my adopted ones. And then club wise, I'm pretty involved. I'm the president of the Video Game Law Society. I'm the scale chair for Consumer Law Society. I'm community relations for the Latino Law Student Association. I am also the communications chair for the Criminal Law Society, and I'm the co-secretary for the Public Interest Law Committee. I'm really social and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, so I cast a very wide net and it's been really great. My Skill 2 year has been very busy, but I wouldn't have it any other way. It's been really fun and I've met so many amazing people and Scale alums are always around. They always want a mentor. So that's like what I really took from the program was I was very social and it also I like started Scale with like kind of a stutter and I took a pellet for laws and it is just you up at that podium. I the stutter's not there anymore. So
Oh,
and that's what I'll say about scale. I'm also first gen Latina, so both my parents are from Mexico. So if you guys also have anything that you guys want to ask about that, I'm also here because it is not easy being the first one to do it when like English wasn't even your first language. So, and that's it. I will pass it along to Albert.
But Rebecca, you are amazing, and all of her babies adore her. Like that's all I hear is how much they love her so much. You are amazing, and you could see how much scale can get involved. Like no doubt, you can do things as Rebecca has shown. You're awesome, Rebecca. Okay, Albert.
Hello, everyone. Again, it's very exciting to see so many people interested in scale. Actually, um, I am second year scale. I started law school as my second career. I spent about 10 years in tech, so I was looking for an opportunity to shift into the legal world. As fast as possible. And I picked scale as my number one choice when I was applying. But it gave me so much more than just the time efficiency. Um, I One of the most exciting things I've done as part of scale and as part of my law school career in general is externing for a federal judge during my first summer. It was an amazing, actually life-changing experience. And just to explain like what kind of feeling it is, I 1 year before that I had not I knew nothing about law, so to speak. I had no exposure to law, first generation again. And 1 year later, I was literally drafting an order for a federal judge, which was like an eye-opening experience for me. But that's what scale does. In a matter of 1 year, I became um, comfortable enough to take on such opportunity and actually perform very well in it. That was definitely one of the highlights of the first year. Starting second year, I became very involved, like Rebecca, uh, uh, with different school activities. Law review was another highlight. I saw somebody asked if you can do law review as part of scale. You can absolutely do that. It's offered as part of the curriculum if you get in, so the schedule works around it and it's perfect. You have an opportunity to be published with the Law Review Journal of Southwestern Law Review. So that's another activity you can take on during your second year. I'm a Dean's Fellow and teaching assistant for several courses. So there's definitely many opportunities to get involved your second year. and I would definitely recommend you do that. I'm also STEM, so I have a STEM degree, which is also something. If some of you guys are STEM, have like a science degree or a degree in tech from bachelor's, Scale is definitely a great fit for that as well. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much it. I am also a parent. I have two kids. I'm married. If some of you are parents and are thinking about doing that with your with while having kids, it's absolutely doable, and it takes adjustments, of course, on the entire family, but uh, definitely manageable, and I can help you with that as well. So.
Yay, you're amazing, Albert. Yes, as a dad, and his kids are so cute. We actually had, I don't know if you saw the very first picture I put up, one of the first pictures. There was a girl in the evidence lab who was pregnant. She just had she did scale pregnant. She had her baby over the break, and she is back in class. It's crazy. Another Scale One student's wife had a child over Christmas as well. So yeah, you don't have to not have families. Definitely can have families, can be second career, all that stuff. Thanks, Albert. Okay, Zara.
Hi everyone. So nice to talk to you all. I moved to Los Angeles from the Midwest, from Kansas, 3 years prior to law school. I was in the live music entertainment industry in the Midwest, working at various concert venues. So when COVID hit, I really took a career change and got a paralegal certificate. I just really wanted to be sure of what I wanted to do because I had kind of bopped around a little bit. My undergrad was in architecture, working in live music. But as soon as I took the paralegal program, I knew that law was it. So when I moved to Los Angeles, Southwestern was really appealing to me because of all the entertainment opportunities. Didn't even have to move from where I lived, went to Southwestern, and I really treated the Scale program as just continuing on like a full days of work. I had already been working for almost 6 years full time, so I treated Scale just like that. And when you think of it like that, it's not that different because you really just go all day and you schedule your time in a way that makes sense like a work day. Um, Second year, I've had lots of opportunities, almost too many opportunities that I've had to really set some boundaries for myself, but that is just a testament to how much you can do. I thoroughly enjoy being a teaching assistant. That has really opened my mind to how much I love teaching. Being a research assistant, I got to do some work on mass media in the entertainment department of the law school, and I'm involved in various entertainment clubs as well. I've kind of shifted away from music and entertainment to really loving just intellectual property in general. So I've really come to love copyright and trademark. So I've gotten to take a lot of electives specific in that. And it's kind of a decision you have to make of whether you want to be a transactional behind the scenes attorney or a litigation attorney. So I've had many opportunities to help make up my mind throughout that process. I had a externship at the U.S. Attorney's Office over the summer where I got to draft motions and be in court and really get that litigation hands-on experience. And then I am also part of the negotiation honors program, which is probably my favorite part of law school in general. You get to basically get facts for a client and negotiate a deal, and you get to go to competition. So it's really, as an introvert and as someone who was terrified of public speaking, it really put me out of my comfort zone. And honestly, same with the evidence labs. When you put on that suit and when you have a client you're representing, it just kind of like puts you into this different personality that I didn't know I had. So I've really grown so much in that way. Um, yeah, so I'm also a Dean's Fellow, which has been a really great opportunity to connect with the Scale Ones as well as the teaching assistant too. I really love connecting with them and growing the community beyond just our Scale 2 cohort. Like Rebecca said, the scales who have graduated and the incoming scales are kind of all connected, and it's just a really great community that I love being a part of.
Thanks, Sarah. And you're amazing. And I know there's private things I wish I could announce about you, but I will not announce about
No,
you.
I am married. Yes, I am also married. No, no kids like Albert, but it is definitely, I mean, it's a challenge for any family to enter scale. So it's something you can talk to me about for sure.
Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, so let's hear. I know we're slightly over, so I'm going to hear from Abigail or scale one, and then I'll take questions, but we'll end it after Abigail speaks, and then anybody who wants to stay for questions is welcome to. So just a few more minutes, and let's hear from the scale one perspective. She's in a very different place right now than the ambassadors. Oh, wait, I didn't share my Abigail screen. Okay.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Dean Knolton, for this beautiful slide. I feel honored. I'm a current Scale 1 student at Southwestern. I'm originally from Dallas, Texas, so if there's any out-of-state people, and I received my undergraduate degree in psych before law. I'm also a first-generation law student. Both my parents were born in Ethiopia, so being in a program with strong mentorship and support has been really meaningful to me. And just to focus on this slide right here, I feel like it really captures my scale experience. In the center, it's me serving as a witness for an evidence lab, which, like you've mentioned, is a core part of scale. You're directly applying what you're learning in the classroom, through a court simulation, arguing to deny or admit a piece of evidence, which has been really insightful. Um, Around that, you'll see a lot of community. I've made great friends since starting at Scales. Honestly, since day one at orientation, the top left is us winning the Scale scavenger hunt. So that was really exciting. And just the incredible support at the Scale office, the professors, and the peers. And I also really want to give a huge shout out to Scale 2. They've been amazing mentors and genuinely passionate in helping us succeed, which has just made a world of a difference. And looking at this slide here, one of our favorites, or my favorite moments, is the bottom left. Our contracts professor, Professor Sloan, hosted an end of quarter like beach gathering at her house, which I just felt was so sweet and genuine of her. And our torch professor and Dean Knowlton and our contracts professor, they played music, and it was just such a lovely um, moment. Outside of Scale, I'm involved in Southwestern and of Court chapter, which if anyone's interested in, I'm happy to discuss further. It's a mentorship-based program that brings together students, attorneys, judges, and professors to focus on professionalism, ethics, and advocacy. And looking ahead to Scale 2, I'm really excited about more electives, hopefully serving as a mentor to incoming Scale 1s, completing a summer externship, and applying what I've learned in a clinic. So overall, Scale has been challenging, but just incredibly eye-opening and intentional and supportive. So I'm really happy to be here and discuss anything regarding Scale or my experience. So yeah.
And you are amazing, Abigail, and we're so happy to have you in the program. So I want to officially end the program so people feel comfortable leaving. You're not leaving early, but just, yes, this is from this past year's graduation. One of my favorite things, these two met in Scale. They are now engaged. Yay! So the love stories happen too. You could come in married or you could find your spouse. Like that's just an extra benefit, but it does happen and they're so cute. So this could be you in 2 years, in 2 years. So I will end the program. Thank you all for joining, and my ambassadors and I and our team will hang out and answer any questions that you have. Just raise your hand if you have a question, and we'll hang out until we answer those. But everybody else, I hope to see you in an interview or in Scale in the summer.
I'll ask a question.
Okay.
The students. So for clinics, what quarter did you do your first clinic? And if you could tell me just a little bit about how that was.
For clinics, so for scale, how it typically works is that you do it in the fall semester. So that's not on a scale schedule. But instead of taking a bunch of electives, that counts for units. So you'll take it like your fall on top of your classes. Like I had a friend who did the immigration clinic, which is 5 units, and she was very busy, but she didn't take as many electives as us. And it works with the schedule very well. It's at night, and they get hands-on, and anyone who does a clinic gets hands-on experience. It just depends what you do. Like I had some friends who did immigration and some friends who did community, some people who did the children's rights. And it's all really valuable experience because when else are you going to get to like that's just another resume that you're getting hands-on work experience with real clients.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks, Rebecca.
You
Abigail, there was a question for you in the chat, just so you know. Luna.
Yes, hi. Dean, I wanted to ask a few questions that are pretty in depth and they're individual. Would it be possible that I could get a meeting with you or someone in the department? I'm a 100% service connected disabled veteran student. There's some things that I need so that I can get academics prepared and paid for and stuff like that. And I haven't been able to get a response by email, and I've sent it a few weeks ago. And also, my question for the scale program specifically today is, what are your thoughts on if you were in judges chambers before and now you're transitioning to traditional? Do you see scale as being a good fit for someone who was learning prior, but because of COVID, I had to quit?
Kim, I'm going to let you respond to the meeting time. Do you want
I will put our office email in the chat. You can just go ahead and send us an email to schedule a meeting. We also do have a contact us page on our website. I'll also put the link in for that.
Okay,
And we can
I'll
schedule
send it
through there.
again, but I did. That's why I was asking, is there any way that I could call or find out if I could come in person for a meeting?
You might not have done it for scale. You may have asked Southwestern generally. Our department's separate, but Kim is the master of responding. So I'm going to be honest, like if you email scale at swlaw.edu, like it gets responded to. I've never met a person who responds like Kimberly Gonzalez. So you might have emailed the larger school, which they're dealing with 400 students. The benefit of scale, it's very small and we're able to get back a lot faster. So if you didn't email scale at swlaw.edu, try that and see what happens.
Okay, sounds good.
And then your other question, you want me to answer the other part?
Yes, please.
Okay, yes, and I think regardless of whether you're coming from, judges' chambers or you've already worked in a law firm, it is helpful to have background experience. It can be helpful or it can hurt you. It depends on your mindset. I've had students who come in who are like, well, I've done this before. I've been a paralegal. I know what I'm doing. And then if you kind of aren't open because you already are so set in your ways, that can be a struggle because it's very different, right? It's different from being a paralegal. Law school is just its own beast. It's different from being in judges' chambers. If you have an open mind and you have the right mindset, I think it could be a huge asset because you don't have as much new stuff coming at you. You've heard of these things before. They're not brand new. And if your mind's open to adjusting to the way that you need to learn in law school, you have a leg up. But if you're more closed-minded, that's where students honestly struggle the most. Is I've seen paralegals struggle. People struggle because they come in thinking they got it. And then when we're telling them do this and do that and do this, they're like, I don't need to do this. I've been doing this. And it is not until quarter two where we're like, did you do it? And they're like, no, do it now. And then they'll be better. So I think it's all about mindset. It can be very helpful to you, but just make sure that's my best advice I could give you is listen to advice. When you get to law school, when people are telling you what to do it. They've been there and they know. Okay.
No, I'm absolutely a lifetime learner, and I believe that you can literally learn something from the janitor and the CEO. There's no one you can't learn from.
That is exactly right. I love that. I love that. Yes. All right, Thomas.
Hi there. Hey, thanks for the presentation. This is so insightful. Two quick questions. One was brought up earlier about Zoom and how that plays out with the class. If maybe you can elaborate on that. And then I guess just a more personal level, just because this is like career three for me. I did 10 years military and then 20 in corporate. And but law school was always in the back of my mind, and kids are grown, ex-wife is gone. So now I'm at this point where it's like, okay, it's time for me to actually, do what I really want to do. So I'm just looking at the photos and the connection points, and honestly, most of the students look about the same age as my children. And so I'm just wondering, how that would fit for someone my age, who's very interested in the scale program. But I just want to make sure that, connection wise, I would be a good fit, for the program. I know the traditional program has older students, but for someone in their 50s coming into a scale program, what are your thoughts on that? So,
Yeah,
thank you.
so we'll start with the I forget the beginning, but I'm start with the effort. I feel like you asked a question at the beginning. Oh, the Zoom. I'll get to the Zoom
Zoom.
in a
Yes,
second.
yes.
But first, on your point, for my personal opinion, I think second career or third career will thrive in scale. So most law schools are very, very young. And a lot of the law schools you're going to go to are from the ages of like the average age is going to be 22, 24.
Right.
We have so many second career students. I have no idea why they did not make our PowerPoint. But like currently in our class, I cannot even tell you the number of, I don't call them older students, second career students that we have. So one guy comes to mind. I'll tell you a fun story who I like to play music in front of class, and I played my family's favorite song ever. It was we have my kids every day before high school listen to this song. That's how they start their morning every single day. It's from Julie and the Phantoms. It's called On the Edge of Great. Most people don't know the song, but it is our family song, and it is a very inspirational song, and it's awesome. So first day of class, I'm like, I'm going to play this song. So I play the song, and this student comes up to me, and he's like, are you purposely playing my song? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, that's my song. I'm like, what do you mean it's your song? It's my song. That's my family song. And he says, oh no, I wrote that song. And I was like,
No
what?
way.
Like that's one of my favorite moments. Was so cool. Like kids got autographs, pictures with him. Like it was so cool. But second career, I have another student right now who is a reporter in Texas for many, many years, much older student who was a news anchor for a long time, who is now thriving in the scale program. So I'm trying so much of our class right now are second career students and they do really, really well. So I think you won't feel like, and what's awesome is the older students and the younger students are such good friends. There's no like, all the older students hang out together and all the younger students hang out together. Yesterday, someone was in my office and they were telling me how much Robert Price has changed their life. This was a very young student, and he's my reporter who is closer to my age, I will say. I'm still the oldest, but closer to my age. And they were saying like he's had such an impact on their life and how much it's changed. And so I think you will really like it. I think career we also look for maturity. So like we have instructions from the dean on making sure that students who take on scale are mature. So you tend to get a more mature class with more life experience type of stuff. We also have 20-year-olds, so don't get me wrong. There's a lot of very mature. I interviewed one yesterday, very mature 20-year-olds as well. So I love it. It's diverse every way. Culturally, it's diverse. Age, it's diverse. You hit my topic. Like this is my passion.
I love it.
Ideas, intellectually, it's diverse. Like in every geographically, it's diverse. So I am obsessed with my scale class right now because I feel like I have someone from every nationality, every religion, every location in the United States, East Coast. We got people from DC, we got Dallas people. Abigail's from Dallas right here. We got people from Seattle, like geographically. We got people on the left. We got people on the right. We've got everything. And it makes an awesome class. And the one thing that they all have in common, the only thing really that they're just like unifying is this growth mindset and a sense of respect for others. So even when we have different perspectives, we love different perspectives, but they're respectful, different perspectives, and
Yeah.
we're really cultivate that. So to answer the second half, I'm talking like if you ask Kim about support, she'll have that, and I want Kim to get to that passion. You just asked me the right question, but on Zoom question in terms of detail, the first year you cannot have an online course at Southwestern. And that is because there are some jurisdictions, New York, for example, that if you take any online courses, you will not be able to practice in that jurisdiction. And we want to make sure that you are able to practice in any jurisdiction if you leave scale. There's one you can't, I think it's Alabama. They don't take two-year students. I think it was Alabama. So you do have to make sure you know what jurisdiction you're going to, but that's the only one I know of that you would be restricted from if you did scale.
Okay.
But so your first year, you can't have what's called an online course. The ABA does not cater a course online unless you have more than 1/3 of your class online. So at Southwestern, you are allowed to put up to, if you
Sure.
have 42 hours, 14 of those hours can be on Zoom. I
Yeah.
use my hours, not always. This year I am because it's actually for your benefit. I want you to not have to commute in on a Friday. And so
Mhm.
last year I didn't, but I don't mind Zoom. I think I
Yeah,
can
I
see
love them.
everybody in a different way. Other professors in scale tend not to do Zoom it depends. Lofgren does. There's some that do, but I would say most of it's more in person.
Okay.
When you get to year two, it will become more up to you. All the required courses are in person,
Mhm.
but there's a lot of electives that are online. And so a lot of people like online. They don't have to commute, they like the format. So you'll have a lot more opportunity to take those online classes if you want. We have an online program at Southwestern. It is not 2 year and it doesn't have all these opportunities. So don't go there, Thomas. But it is a fully online and it is a great program. And we're the first to have an asynchronous model. So I love Southwestern, all of our programs. But if they don't fill their classes, sometimes our students can get into those. They're completely async classes where you don't even have Zoom. You're doing all the work by videos on your own. So there's some of those where you could do
Yeah.
async classes. Did I answer your question thoroughly enough?
Yeah, you did. No, it was just the first I had heard that Zoom was a part of. I looked at Scale 20 years ago, when it still is, but even more so innovative at the time. And I was living in California. I actually work in the music industry in Nashville right now myself in the Christian music space. But I lived in California at the time and had looked at Scale, ended up applying to Cal Western, got in there, but I didn't actually get into you guys. So I'm a little sad, but hey, tw 20
Did you
years
go?
later.
Did you go to Cal Western?
No, no,
Oh,
I was married at the time, had a young family, and it was just a little too much. We had daughter number three, and I just decided, even though I had, done the work and got in, it just wasn't the right time, for our
yeah.
family.
Well,
So
maybe you were saving it for scale. Try
I
again.
know, I
There's
know.
different people in charge now. So
I know, I know. So I'm a party of one now, so it's, I can go full speed ahead into what I've been wanting to do for a long time. So
that's awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. All right, Orlando.
Hi. So I saw the medians for 3.5 and the 157. So I just had a question about that. Like, is that like hard 157 3.5, or because I'm doing an accelerated bachelor's program as well, for me to apply to scale. And so I think mine is going to be like I think it lands at a 3.30 or 3.2, 3.0, 3.2 as cumulative GPA. And then I'm also doing the LSAT for February 7th. So I'm trying to meet these deadlines to get into scale, because part of why I hadn't gone to law school in the past or even gone full bachelor's, or completing bachelor's, because I'm like, I was fully in the workforce in the music industry and entertainment industry, creator industry, and it was doing great for me, and in the radio and stuff like that. So I was like, I'm in my career. And then now law was a passion, of course, as always. I also did law studies in law academy in high school, and I coached the law academy, and I got my teams to win regional, and place runner up in national. So it was great. And then God brought this right back to me over the last 4 or 5 months, and I've been hard on it since then. So um, kind of unconventional, I guess, but that's what scale is about. And so when I called in Southwestern, because I seen the ranking for entertainment law, and then they introduced me to scale, and I lost my mind, because I'm like, the biggest thing was not going to 4 year university and then having to go 3 4 years of law school and finding an accelerated program that I can finish in no time and get my bachelor's, and then doing scale, and then just getting straight to work. Dream come true. So I'm in love with scale. I'm really, really trying to get in. So my question to all that is, how hard are those numbers? Just pulling the curtain back a little bit, or is there holistic approaches as well, when deciding who takes a seat in scale? But I'm looking to apply after this LSAT score coming in February.
Yeah, it is definitely a holistic process. So the average numbers means exactly that they are average and that people are below them and people are above them. Um, I'm I'm not as big on the numbers as my predecessor was. So if you're strong enough to get into, I don't do admissions decisions. So the admissions department does that. I make recommendations for scale. So whether you get admitted into Southwestern or not is not my call. But as a whole, what I could tell you is there's tons of students with 3.0s and above. I have students with 2 point stuff and above. So it depends on a holistic package. It doesn't, what is your LSAT compared with what is your GPA? What is your personal statement? In scale, what really matters a lot is the interview. We'll look at your application to determine if you get an interview, which includes your GPA, your LSAT, your life. So if somebody had really poor grades a long time ago, but it's been quite a long time, that's how what people like in the 2 point ranges typically get in is it's like, well, this isn't the same person anymore, and they've matured and they've grown and their life is different, and maybe they had difficulty at that time. We are very compassionate. We are a school of opportunity at Southwestern. It is all about finding those students. That's what I'm passionate about. That is what Southwestern is passionate about, is finding the students who deserve to be lawyers, but maybe some numbers don't work out in their favor. So I would highly encourage you to apply. And yes, 3.0 isn't even an all shocking low. That's not even low. Like, you're fine. I don't know what your LSAT will be, but I would definitely apply. Yeah. Clark.
Hey, good morning or good afternoon. I was wondering about like how the ranked application works, because I'm kind of in between the full-time online and the scale program. I've moved around in the last 10 years across 4 states, 2 countries. And now I'm at the point where I want to settle down and be with my family. And so I know that if I move again, like at this point a non-traditional student. I've had a 6-year career in aviation. So I'm ready to like go hard and really get in the weeds on everything and go back to back. That's been my life for 6 years now. So I know that I'd be ready to commit to that in person. But I guess my question is for the application process. I know that in the portal you rank them. And so I didn't know how that affects the consideration for scale program if I were to put it as my first choice or do the full-time online and then scale as my second choice. So I didn't know how that works.
I'm going to just, so someone hears someone's voice other than mine, I'm going to go with Kim on this one. I'm happy to answer it, but I think sometimes I get tired of hearing my own voice, so I'm going to let Kim answer that one.
I'm so sorry. I was answering questions in the chat. Would you
sorry.
mind
Okay.
repeating your question? I'm so
I'll
sorry.
repeat it. No, so she's
No,
just wondering
you're
about the
fine.
ranking process and how ranking online versus scale and what that means basically to her chances of being accepted and things like that. Is that
Yes.
yeah.
So yes, there is that ranking process. The way it's working right now, because online is so new, online's applicants or really any first choice applicant really is like prioritized for that program. There are obviously we have students that would put scale as their second choice or don't put it at all. And there are certain students that we reach out to for informational interviews as a, hey, we think, based on your application, we might be a good fit. Would you like to learn more? Right? Unfortunately, we don't do that with online students unless there is a like very clear interest that is expressed to our office. And then we would coordinate with the online program to see if they are amenable to us interviewing that applicant. So it is a really kind of tough situation with online just because of how new the program is. We don't want to be taking any applicants away from them.
So would that be something that, like, not just putting it maybe as part of the personal statement or as one of the supplementals, would that be something that you would want to reach out directly to the admissions officer to say, I didn't just put this as a first choice or second choice as a like backup joke. I was serious. Like these are my paths that I would really like to consider.
You can honestly go ahead and email our office, so scale@swlaw.edu, and just let us know, hey, I put online as my first choice program. However, I do want to be considered for scale. Can we go ahead and go about the next steps? That way our office can get the ball rolling on that and talk to the online program about at least getting you into an interview potentially.
The problem is you will have to have a first choice, and we can't admit you to scale if you don't change the scale as your first choice. So if you keep online as your first choice, there's no way to be admitted into scale. They get first choice at you, right? And if they don't, if the online program says this isn't a good fit for online, then we'll go to your second choice and say, okay, is this a good fit for scale, right? So If you
Got
keep
it.
online, you will officially have to change your preference to scale to ever be admitted into scale.
And that works the reverse way as well.
Yes, 100%. Yes. And
Got
then
it.
so if you put scale first, then you would come to our office first. And if you're admitted into scale, what could happen then is you could say, you know what, I've changed my mind. I want to do online. Can I see if I could be admitted there? And then they could send it over there. You could do something like that. Uh,
Right.
or you just, yeah, actually pick your first choice.
Right.
And see if you get in, like actually put first what you really want first. And then if you don't get in there, they will go to your second choice. That's what will happen is they'll go to your second choice.
Got it. Okay. That makes more sense. It's like trying to go because both options for me feel really, really good. And so it's hard to not be able to submit both.
You
But
got to
I get
choose.
it.
Yeah, go to an online session and then after, because you got a pretty good overview today of what scale is like. You can also meet with our ambassadors. So all of the people that are on the call here are ambassadors. You can ask to meet with them. You can talk in depth with each one of them about their experience. I know I kind of took up all the time today. We didn't get enough. You can ask these ambassadors questions right now too, but you can meet with them separately, one-on-one, and get a feel. There's online students that they have that you can meet with and maybe do a little bit more exploring and then figure out what you really like better.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That helps.
Uh-huh. Orlando, did you have another question?
Yeah, sorry.
Awesome.
This may be for one of the students, but living. I know they have the apartments on campus, and this law students isn't don't have jobs particularly full time. So, just what is that like? The lifestyle part, the living part. How do is there like like traditional? Do the meal plans come with tuition, housing, that type of stuff?
I'm gonna let Abigail talk about that.
Hi. So I currently live on campus and I genuinely can't recommend it enough. If you have the flexibility and ability to do it. I think unless, of course, if you want to live at home and commute, that's totally understandable. But in the pace and acceleration upscale, it is nice to have a little bit of flexibility if you want to, I don't know, maybe snooze for 5 minutes in the morning, instead of having to get on the road and drive. There is no meals that are offered. However, I did talk about in the chat, financial aid does work seamlessly well with the housing man or housing office. And so they can connect you guys so you don't even have to worry if you are end up taking out loans, or whatnot, you can sign a document where it'll directly go towards your rent. You don't have to worry about paying rent once every month, which is another stress to take off. But I have friends who live in the residences, so it's again a really nice extra support, especially if you are coming from out of state or not familiar with the area. And then we have study rooms, we have grills, we have a fifth floor like balcony. It's very, very nice. And so you can also immerse yourself and meet with other programs. And if you're studying late at night in the library or whatnot, there's always security on campus that it's like a 5 minute walk in your home. So I definitely can't recommend it enough. I think it's really added to my experience at scale. But I also know a lot of people, most of my program who does commute, and they do that just as fine too. So it is more of a preference.
Thank you
Thanks,
for that.
Abigail.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay, so if there's no other questions, I would say, Kim, tell them about the support that they're going to get.
Oh, this is my favorite topic, and the students can tell you that as well. So the Scale program has a Scale office, so it is a centralized hub of information, of support. There is no running away from us, which is a good thing and a bad thing, right? Which is like one of those statements where I prefer to be a little less visible, right? You can't have invisibility with the Scale office, and that's also a good thing because we're able to hold you accountable and we're able to say, hey, you haven't gone to class. What's going on? Do you need any help? And part of that help is some of it is in-house, like through us. Dean Knolton and I do academic counseling. We do personal counseling as well. Mel is also open office. We have snacks in our office. So if you just want to come and hang out, that's totally fine. We also do like directing, right? So if something is a little bit out of our hands or out of our scope, or there's somebody that can help you a little bit better, we go ahead and direct you to maybe the student services office. They go ahead and talk to our military and VA students. They go ahead and talk about academic standing. They talk about maybe leaves of absence. If that's what you're looking for, they also handle accommodations. We also have Bison Cares, which is a third-party telehealth appointment kind of hub of wellness. They do have an app called You Will, where they go ahead and have like meditations that they walk you through. They do have, like I said, telehealth through the school. It's usually, I want to say it's like 10 sessions. But if you need more long-term care, they can go ahead and then refer you out. If you need medication or anything like that, they also go ahead and refer you out for that. We have a food pantry, which is right around the corner from our office as well. It gets stocked regularly. There are non-perishables. There are also refrigerators on the lower level of the Bullocks-Wilshire building that sometimes if we get like perishable foods, usually closer to finals, we'll get like frozen foods and they will be put in there. We also have a professional clothes closet. So if you don't know how to dress for law school, don't have a suit, you have an interview that you didn't come with your, interview clothes on, you can go into the professional clothes closet, no questions asked. There are shoes, there are accessories, there are tops, there are bottoms, there are jackets, and it is on the first floor of the library. We also have our peer mentors. I oversee our mentors. They are second-year students that are there for your social cheerleading. So we had, Albert and Zara talk about the TAs, talk about the Dean's Fellows. Those are your academic mentors. Your peer mentors would be, when was the last time you saw the sun? When is the last time you drank water? How long have you been sitting here? They're the ones that are like, they've been there, right? They know the struggle of wanting to just keep going and do your best. They also know that burnout is very real and are going to try to mitigate that for you. I also host study halls for our students. I have very much like brain food. I have snacks. I have drinks. I have like apple juice and mandarins and oranges and stuff like that to get you through those study hall. We have practice exams. I help their Scale 2 students with kind of just locking in on their moral character and just stuff like that. So I'm very much whatever you need from me, I will try to make it happen. And unlike the 3-year program or any other program, you just have our office. Other students have to go and kind of figure out their way around. Whereas no matter what question you have, we either know the answer or we know someone who could get you the answer. And I think that's one of the best perks of the program.
I think Kim is one of the best perks of the program, to be honest. It is so an advantage. Some people think scale is harder, and there is harder parts. There's harder parts about it for sure, but which is the no breaks between finals and coming back. That is hard to do. The pace is harder, but shoot, like to have someone holding you and taking you along the journey every step of the way and anything you need, does it. It's crazy. And that can take a lot of stress off your plate. And when you can't get an answer from someone, she gets it. Like you have a lot of you guys want a job? I call up Dean Tehran. I'm like, dude, you got to get this person a job. Like nobody has that. In Scale, you have people who are advocating for you and really trying to help there's just a lot of personal touch. But Southwestern generally, just let me say before we go to Miriam, is amazing. So all these programs Kim's talking, well, not all of them. The Dean's Fellows, the closed closet, the pantry, the peer mentors, that's no matter traditional or Scale. She did mention some extra stuff that Scale has. The study halls are ours. Like sometimes we hire private tutors to help people. That is ours. Like there's some stuff you only get in Scale, but there's so much support. Southwestern as a school, the reason I have stayed here, I taught at 2 different law schools before coming here. I have stayed, I'm in my 18th year because there is no law school like it. Not from where I went, not from anyone I've talked to. They care about students. You will never feel like a number. You will feel like a person and you will feel like they care about you. And no matter what struggle you're going on, it's like we have a team called SET. I don't know if you mentioned that one. It might have been lost in all the stuff, but Student Services Emergency Team. I'm on SET. Something goes wrong. It's like you've got like this committee of people, like how can we hold this person up and help them get through? So it is very supportive. We have a first gen dinner where we bring your parents in and feed them so they'll listen to us. We'll give you a nice dinner if you'll listen to us. Leave your child alone and support them. Do not have them pressured to go to Thanksgiving dinners, to buy you stuff, to take care of you. They need to study, and we tell them. And so, like, we think of every aspect, and it's a very, very supportive environment. Just Southwestern as a culture as a whole. Okay, Miriam.
First of all, I just want to say thank you so much. This whole entire process, especially this Zoom, has been so helpful. Thank you for all the students to sharing your experience and making our process and journey a little easier, at least when we're first beginning. You guys don't know how much it means. Maybe you do a little because you experienced the hardships in the beginning, but honestly, it's a lot. It's definitely a journey, but just like me and other law students, when you're ready, and you're motivated to do so. I would love to connect with Rebecca and anyone else, but I'm also currently a paralegal. I found myself being in the background and realizing I can do more. I don't know if you guys are able to guide me a little more about the personal statement and the requirements. I know you guys will have my resume, so I don't know how much to include my skills. I know it's definitely going to be connecting my story and my purpose and how I got here, but any tips? I know it's depending on each person, but any tips just in the application process during that part?
Let's go on zero for tips on personal statement.
Yeah, coming from working for, especially in the legal field.
Yeah, I think
Thank you again.
Yeah, of course. I focused a lot on just what I thought was a transferable skills that I'd picked up. I had worked as an assistant for a judge, and then I had worked at a law office. So trying to take things that were transferable, but then also making it personal to me. I didn't want the statement to just be a list of everything that I've done. So things that you like hobbies. I like to throw in like that I worked in live music and things like that. So I think combining skills that I thought would be transferable and also just who I was as a person and personality, so that you could really get a feel that I'm like, this is who I am versus just kind of lists on a resume. If I don't know if that answers your question, because it's been a while since I wrote it.
Yes, that is true. One tip I'll give you that is really important is don't use ChatGPT. I don't even know if we allow it or don't allow it. It's not about whether it's permissible or impermissible. It's you don't come off personal. It sounds very robotic. It's hard to connect with someone who's using ChatGPT. I actually am a huge fan. I teach generative AI in my legal writing class. I've implemented it into the lawyer's practicing. I think generative AI is amazing. I think everyone should use it for the right purpose in the right way when you're trained. But you have to be very careful because you fixed it and you think it sounds personal and it doesn't. And there's a big disconnect. And so, honestly, if your LSAT's super high and your GPA is super high, your personal statement may have a little less weight in a whole. Not for me. When I'm doing interviews and I'm selecting, I get 60 spots and that's my max. And so I said no to someone at a 170 the other day. Like, I don't care, to be honest. Like, I don't care. As long as you have the GPA and the LSAT to be admitted to Southwestern, you are solid and you have a chance. And we've seen people in the 140s be number one in our class, and I've seen people in the 170s not do well. It's not about your scores. That will help you get the scholarship. So sorry for those who don't have the high scores. That does help you get the scholarship. But in terms of being admitted into scale, it's not necessarily telling. And what I could tell is someone is taking the time to really think about their statement, show about who they are, and not just having ChatGPT do it. It just doesn't come off genuine. So that would be my tip. Be you. I mean, you've learned a lot about scale. You're doing the right thing. You are here listening. You know what we look for. And this isn't just scale. Every law school looks for this. To be honest, like those qualities that are A's on that sheet, that's what law schools want. There's a survey done by, I don't know, it's not double A, but I forget the name of it. Kim might know, but
Is
the
it
law
Leslie?
schools. No, not the lessee. It's the other one where they surveyed everybody. They surveyed the judges, they surveyed lawyers in big firms, mid firms, small firms, government jobs, everybody. It was a huge search. It's like AALS, but it's not AAS. It's very similar to that. And maybe it is AALS. I don't know. And they said, what are the most important qualities for a lawyer? You should find that list. Kim, if she could find it, might put it in the chat. But look up AALS because it's list of qualities that lawyers need their first year. You would be shocked. Number one, like up there is like listening skills, adaptability, taking accountability for what you do. Things like collaboration. The only legal skills in the top 20 is legal research and legal writing. Like that's it. They don't care about anything else. And that's what makes, if you're open-minded and you have a growth mindset and you're really grit and determination, resilience, you're able to show these things, you can accomplish anything. And you're going to be much better to work with than somebody who has to have everything their way, who isn't good at adjusting when things go wrong. Things are going to go wrong. I'm just going to be honest. Like no matter where you go to law school, Southwestern, elsewhere, scale, not, things are going to go wrong. And I don't think there's a person in this room, Zara, Albert, Rebecca, Abigail, where things have not gone wrong. It's how do you respond to it? And those kind of skills come out really clearly in your application. One hint, if you don't fill out the why Southwestern, kind of shows like not a lot of determination and grit. Like, how bad do you want this? You don't even want to put why Southwestern. There's optional forms. Okay, they're optional. I'm not going to do them. You don't have to do them. And if you have everything else, maybe. That's a big thing for me personally. I'm like, well, they didn't even want to do the optional. How bad do they really want this? How hard are they really going to work? So I am very different than I think a traditional admissions program. And what I don't care about the numbers. They were so worried about me last year. They're like, you keep turning away these high LSATs. Like, you're not going to have a class. We're going to drop because I do have to have certain numbers. And I asked the dean, she's like, you need to look at maturity. You need to look at this. You need to look at that. And I'm like, okay, can I drop my numbers then? No, you have to keep the numbers the same. I'm like, okay, well, this is quite a challenge. Like you want me all of this stuff, but you also want me to have these numbers. And I went about it different. And I really care about these things that I'm talking about. And somehow, some way, our LSAT went up, our GPA went up. So it works out because I wasn't even looking. I asked Kim. I wouldn't even care. I'm like, I don't care. Like, we're taking them or we're not. I am not taking someone that's going to ruin the class, that's going to come in and be disruptive and make other people feel disrespected. And if I can sense in you that you don't have a growth mindset and you're going to be difficult in teamwork, you are going to be an outstanding lawyer, but just not an outstanding scale student. You would do better in a traditional program where you don't have to work in teams every day, right? That is just very difficult. So if that gives you any idea, that's about the biggest gift I could give you because I've just told you exactly what I'm looking for. Find a growth experience that you went through where you really grew and learned and took feedback and grew from it and get that in there somehow because that's going to go a lot farther than I was. For me, I don't like to speak for everybody, but I worked with a judge or I was a paralegal. Those matter. It's cool, but it could go either way. Paralegals can do really well or really bad. So it's kind of a neutral fact to me. Like, what's your mindset? That's my advice. And given I read your application, show me you could take some advice. Luna.
Yes, thank you, Dean. I just wanted to ask, as far as the scale program goes, with the COLA and the student loans, I'm taking the 2 years off to work full-time with law school. I'm a real estate broker, so I've already been, like I said, working with law and all that for a long time. But all I want to do is law school, so I have the luxury to do that. What is the anticipated COLA for 2026, 2027, if you're aware?
The what? The COLA?
Yeah, the cost of living allowance or cost
cost
of
of living. Oh,
education.
I don't know. Yeah, that's outside my area.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't even know what COLA was. So Kim, go for it.
So we don't have what it will be for next year. We sometimes go based off of inflation, like 3-4%. There have been years where we don't make that adjustment.
Right.
But typically what you can expect is in that first year for scale, tuition is about 88,700. So the program itself is roughly 183,000 for the 2 years, right? Like I said, there might be some fluctuations with inflation. We also don't charge for summer because it is part of your required units.
Right.
So the other programs would charge you for the summer session because you don't need those to graduate. So that's a little bit different. It'll look different on our tuition and fees website. But what you're also looking at, for example, is like the parking fees, right? So the students can kind of tell you a little bit about that as well. But for the first year, you have $603 for your parking pass. That second year is $420 because in quarter 8, you're not really here. you're more on your externship, but you could purchase the quarter 8 pass separately. And
Okay.
that would be an additional $145. There is also, like if you were to live on campus, I can go ahead and provide you with what they currently go for.
No, I'll definitely be living in the valley.
Okay. Then yeah, that's pretty much all the information I can give you at this moment. I know FAFSA does like a really good calculator. You can also go ahead and reach out to our financial aid office. The students will tell you that Suzanne in financial aid is a godsend. She is amazing. She works with your budget. She works with, your parameters. And you can definitely go ahead and talk to her about, your budget and what that would look like moving forward.
Okay, awesome. I'm sorry, Dean, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and the official first day of school is June what?
15th is orientation, which is mandatory, and then classes will start the next day on the 16th.
Oh my gosh.
Like mandatory, by the way. Last year, we had 60 students, and one didn't show up to orientation. We have 59 students. Student wanted to come. It's that mandatory. Like they don't joke around by orientation is mandatory. So FYI, you have got to be able to show up on January 15th if you want to be in scale.
It's so bad.
And then the other thing I was going to mention is for those who are here still, if you're kind of considering, you don't know, make an appointment with financial aid. As Kim said, Suzanne's great, and I can't speak to financial aid because that's not my expertise, but there's a lot going on with financial aid right now that you need to be aware of. With the big, beautiful bill that passed, there is limits to your loans in terms of what you're going to be able to take out starting in July. So what is nice about Scale is we start June. So that doesn't apply to us, at least for this year. I don't know about you get grandfathered in. I don't think so. I'm not really sure. But at least for your first year, those limits don't apply. I don't know how it works, but it's important. So especially if you've had like other degrees and you're planning to get other degrees, there's just so much. And she is so great at advice. So yes, make a thing. And there's one other thing before we go to Fatima is somebody wanted to connect with Rebecca. Is Rebecca still here? Or did she had to jump off?
Yeah, she had to jump off at 11:30, but you can send us an email and we can go ahead and relay and see when she's amenable to speaking with
That
you.
was Miriam. I don't even know if Miriam's still here or not. But Miriam, if you want to talk with Rebecca, I did hear you say that. Email Kim. Email scale@swlaw.edu. Okay, Fatima.
I'm so like fingers crossed that I get an interview, that I get Scale, that I get accepted. Like I want to be a part of the Scale family so bad.
Thanks, Luna. Thanks, Luna.
Thank you guys so much for the presentation today.
Yes, you're welcome. Fatima.
Perfect. Hi, I have a question with regard to the big beautiful bill, or whatever they've termed this thing. If you start, if you're aiming for scale 2027, and the cost of tuition becomes cost prohibitive to you, for instance, you don't receive much in the way of scholarships or anything from financial aid, do you have an opportunity to go, if online was your second program, from being a scale candidate to being an online student?
That's a more complicated question, but the tuition's the same no matter what. So I just want to start with the frame, like whether you're online, traditional, or scale, you have to get the same 87 units. The requirements are the same. You get the same education. So the tuition is the same across the board. So if you were not able to financially afford scale, it would mean you're not financially able to afford the online. There's no difference. With respect to whether you want to change to online, you have to be accepted into the online program. So if you're scale, it's just like I have to approve anybody who comes into scale. I have to approve that. And then there's an online dean who has to approve anybody to come in the online program. So the default is traditional. And if you're admitted into Southwestern, you're admitted into to start the traditional. And then they look at your preference. And if it's scale, then they're going to come to our office. They're going to say, this person wants to interview, and we're going to get a sense of whether you'd be a good fit in the scale program. Just because you got into scale, I can't say, well, automatically you'll be into online. It's that office's choice. So you would have to say, I would like to apply to online. They don't do interviews though. They could look at your application and say, yes, this is a good fit for online, or no, it's not. Does that answer your question?
It does, mostly, except scale is 2 years, I believe, and online is 3 years. So the funding mechanism would
Oh,
be
you're
two
right.
year for scale and 3 year for online. So that might,
100%. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So
that
I hear you,
might,
Fatima. Yeah, it makes a big difference. Uh-huh.
yeah.
Because
Okay.
it's so much per
Oh,
year. It's only so if you're having it's let's say it's 180,000 for and you get it, obviously you're teaching me, but for everybody else who's listening, if it's $180,000 total for a law degree, in scale that's 90,000 per year, right? Whereas in traditional, it's 60,000 per year. So it does make a difference. I correct myself. Thank you for that.